Hello, students, and a very good morning to all of you. Today, I am here with the second part of the second chapter of the civics, that is secularism and the constitution. In the previous part, we have learned about secularism and how India follows the secularism. Now, today, we will learn about the fundamental rights. Let's have a look on the content first. Today we are going to learn about the fundamental rights. So in the first chapter only I have explained you about the fundamental rights. We are having six fundamental rights, that is right to freedom, right to equality, right to freedom of religion, right against exploitation, cultural and educational right, right to constitutional remedies. We will learn about what are writs, fundamental duties, directive principles of the state policy. Now, fundamental rights, as we have learned earlier, but I am helping you to revise it once again. So, students, fundamental rights are constituted in the third part of the Constitution. Fundamental rights are the basic rights that are guaranteed by the Constitution to every citizen of the country. These rights are meant for promoting political democracy and set limitations on executive and other laws of the legislatures. That means this right provides us the power so that no one exploit us, or so that the state cannot take advantage of its power against us. That is why we are having fundamental rights, and these rights are justiciable. We can, if any person founds that his or her fundamental rights are being violated by someone, by government, or by any individual, or by any private body, he or she can go to the court to restore his or her rights. Now, why we are getting fundamental rights? Because it is for the all round development of an individual. It hold, or these fundamental rights uphold equality and dignity of the individual, so that we can live with respect in this country. The larger public interest, that means for the welfare of the people, the unity of the nation, so that if everyone will be equal, then the nation will be united. So today we are going to see some of our rights in great detail. So the first one is, first of all, we will see that what are our fundamental rights. So the right to equality, the right to freedom, the right to freedom from exploitation, the right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, the right to constitutional remedies. Now, let's have a look on the first one, right to equality. First of all, we will see that under which articles these rights are provided to us. In Indian Constitution, the right to equality contains the article from 14 till 18. We are having 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18. Five articles related to right to equality. Now, this right ensures that every citizen of the country gets equal treatment without any discrimination on the basis of caste, creed, sex, race, or religion. Now, this is the right that provide every individual equality, that everyone is equal in this country and everyone should get equal treatment without discriminating them on the basis of any aspect, like on the basis of caste, creed, sex, race, or religion. We should not be discriminated. So our first right is right to equality. That is, you have to remember the articles also. In our constitution, the right to equality is mentioned from article 14 till article 18. Now we will see that what are those articles. The first one is article 14. Article 14 means equality before law. Article 14 of the Constitution guarantees that all citizens shall be equally protected by the laws of the country. This I have explained you earlier also. What is equality before law? That everyone is equal before law, whether it is a prime minister or a common man. Everyone will be equal. So the Article 14 of the Constitution states that all citizens shall be equally protected by the laws. Laws are equal for everyone. Next one is social equality and equal access to public areas. That means everyone is free to go to any place, any public area. Public area means park, gardens, temples, any monument. These are all public area that is for the common people. Article 15 of the Constitution states that no person shall be discriminated on the basis of caste, color, language, etc. Every person shall have equal access. That means that they can go to, everyone can go to the public places like public parks, museums, wells, bathing ghats, and temples, etc. Why this right came for us? This is because we have learned about untouchability. During that time, Dalits were prohibited from getting water from the well or ponds. They were restricted for going to the temples also. So that is why this right, Article 15, provides us the right that we can access to any public place. Public place means that are meant for the common people without any discrimination. However, the state may make any special provision for women and children. State can take any special provision for children, like there are some places where children should not be allowed. So that is only, sometimes state may put some restrictions, like this time we are suffering from this pandemic. So this time we cannot go to any public area. If we will go, then we will be punished. So this time our rights are being restricted by the government for our welfare only. Next one is 16. Equality in matter of public employment. Employment means job opportunity. So Article 16 of the Constitution lays down that the state cannot discriminate against anyone in the matters of employment. All citizens can apply for government job. The Constitution states that no one can be discriminated for the job opportunities with respect to its religion, caste, creed, or these things. No one should be discriminated for the job opportunities. Everyone is equal. Now, here also there is some positive discrimination. We are knowing that reservations are available, reservations are provided to the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes. Now, why reservations are provided? To develop those communities according to the, yeah, with respect to the mainstream societies. That is why they are having some reservation, but otherwise everyone is equal for the job opportunities. This says the Article 16 of our Constitution, that is equality in matters of public employment. Then next is abolition of untouchability. In the previous lecture only we have learned about untouchability. So Article 17 of the Constitution abolishes, totally abolishes, stop the practice of untouchability. Now the Constitution make it a punishable offense. Now if the, according to the Constitution, if a person find out to exploiting someone or to treating someone as untouchable, that is a punishable offense, and anyone doing so is punishable by law. Next is abolition of titles. Article 18 of the Constitution prohibits the state from conferring any titles. That means that now any member or any Indian member is not allowed to get any title provided by the foreign countries. Citizens of India cannot accept titles from a foreign state. Next is, so in So, the right to equality provides us with five major articles, that is, Article 14 that states equality before law, Article 15 that states social equality and equal access to public areas, Article 16 equality in matters of public employment, Article 17 abolition of untouchability, and Article 18 that is abolition of titles. Now, the next one is right to freedom. So, students, right to freedom is come under the articles 19 to 22. So, it states that right to freedom comes under Article 19 to 22. So, under Article 19, we are having six freedoms, right? Six freedom means under Article 19 only, we are having six freedom: freedom of speech and expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of residence, freedom of profession and trade. Now we will see that what are these freedoms. So, right to freedom, that is from Article 19 to 2022. The right to freedom in Article 19 guarantees the following rights to all the citizens of India, that is, freedom of speech and expression. We are free to express our feeling or whatever we are thinking about the government or whatever our opinion for the government, that for that we are free. That means we are free to speak whatever we are feeling. Freedom to assemble peacefully and without arms. We are free to assemble anywhere. Assemble means in a group of people. Like for at home, we are having marriage ceremonies or we are having some functions, so we can assemble peacefully without arms. Freedom to form associations or unions. We are free to form our association or unions. That means a group. Like there are many association that are working for the social care, for the social services. There are many like RSS and all these. Like any political party is also an example of association only. So we are free to form association like student groups, leaders group. So this is only labor union, all these come under this. Freedom to move freely throughout the territory of India. So, we are free to move anywhere in India. We are free to visit any place in India without any restriction. We can move. You have also seen that many a times you go from this state to another state. You go for vacations to any place, you are not restricted by anyone or do not ask you that why you came here or anything. So we are free to move in the Indian territory to any place. Freedom to reside and settle in any part of the territory of India. You can live in any state of India. You are free to purchase land there. You are free to build your house there, and you are free to reside in any territory of India. That means in any state, city, village, anywhere you are free to live. Freedom to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade, or business. You are free to choose any profession. You want to become a doctor, you want to become an engineer, you want to become an architect, whatever you want to become, you are free to choose your profession. You are free to start your business also. You are willing to open one shop, you are willing to open one restaurant. For all those things, you are totally free. So, in Article 19 only, we are getting we are getting six freedom rights. That is freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble peacefully and without arms, freedom to form associations or unions, freedom to move freely throughout the territory of India, freedom to reside and settle in any part of territory of India, freedom to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade, or business. Now, next, what we are having, that is only Article 19. In that article only, we are having all these things. I'll read it once again. Freedom of speech and expression, which enables an individual to participate in public activities, like we are giving speech, like leaders used to give speech. The freedom to assemble peacefully without arms, on which the state can impose reasonable restrictions in the interest of public order and the sovereignty and integrity of India. Now, this time, since we are going through a suffering, since whole India is suffering from the pandemic COVID 19, so are all these rights are restricted by the government. Now, this time we cannot assemble anywhere, whether peacefully, with arm, without arm, we cannot assemble anywhere. Freedom to form associations or unions, this is also totally restricted this time because we cannot go to one place to another for all these things. Like this only, freedom to move freely throughout the territory of India. This time, during national emergencies, our government can restrict these rights. Restrictions can be imposed on movement and traveling so as to control epidemics. The correct example is given here. If we are suffering from, or the country is suffering from, any epidemic, in this situation, our rights can be restricted by the government. Freedom to reside and settle in any part of the territory of India. We are free to live anywhere in India. Now, next we will see about Article 20 says. So, Article 20 gives protection in respect of conviction. Now, what is the meaning of the word conviction? The action of finding someone guilty of a crime in court of law. If someone has committed any crime, this right is for the for the protection of the respect of that person. Now, it provided us two rights. First one is, no one can be awarded punishment which is more than what the law of the land prescribes at that time. Suppose that one person has committed crime in the year 2017. At that time, for committing that crime, there was a fine of 2000 rupees. That person has paid that fine and free from that crime. Now, again, when there is some changes or the fine increased related to that crime, now no one can ask to that person in 2020 that now the fine has been increased, you have to give the increased fine. So at that time, if I have committed the crime this time, so whatever is the rule this time, I should be punished according to this rule only. I cannot be punished according to the old rules or according to the future coming rules. Next one is, it also states that no person can be convicted twice for the same offense. You cannot be convicted or punished for the same offense, for the same mistake, two times. There is only provision of one time punishment. You cannot be awarded punishment twice for the same mistake or same crime. Now, what the Article 21 says, Article 21 ensures two basic rights. This article provides us two basic rights. First is right to life, and the next is right to personal liberty. So, this right provides us right to life and personal liberty, and a right to die with dignity. That means whole life, from birth to death, we are free to live with respect, and it is the government is bound for to respect us in this country. That means, what is right to life? That means we have the right to get water, air, we are having the right to our livelihood, for our shelter, for our privacy also. We are having right for a pollution free environment. The government has to work in these fields. The government should provide us medical facilities. This is our right to get medical facility. This time in India, many of the people, yeah, many person are suffering from the COVID-19 disease. Now this time, why government is putting so much effort? Many a times in normal situation, when we suffer from any disease, did the government ask us that which disease you are suffering, we are having fever or fractures or anything or any operation? Government do not ask. We have to pay by us only for that, the treatment of the disease. But this time, since it is a epidemic, so it is the responsibility of the government to provide us medical facilities. So this is also our right. So Article 21 provides us two basic rights, that is right to life and right to personal liberty also. We are having right to education also through this right. So by 86th amendment, article 21, one clause was added. Now it becomes Article 21A. This article says that every child of the age group 6 to 14, every child of the age group 6 to 14 is having the right of free and compulsory elementary education. So this article says that, yeah, this article gives the right of free and compulsory elementary education to all the children of the age 6 to 14 years without any discrimination. So what Article 21 says? Article 21 gives us right to life and right to personal liberty. This right protects us. Yeah, this rights gives us the right to life. That means we are having right to survive on this earth or in India. Article 21 A gives the right of free and compulsory elementary education to all children of the age of 6 to 14 years without any discrimination. Now we will see Article 22. So Article 22 is related to the detention. That means when a person committed any crime, if a person committed any crime, so regarding to his detention, that means for questioning him or for imprisoning him, for taking him into custody or arrest, so these rights are against that process. This right, Article 22, protects against arrest and detention in certain cases. Sometimes it happens that police is not having that arrest warrant, or someone that has not committed the crime is also become the suspect. So for their dignity and for their respect, this right is introduced. Article 22 is one such fundamental right which safeguards the right of individuals who have been arrested and detained for committing an offense. So this right is basically when from the person who has committed any mistake or any crime. No person who is arrested shall be detained in custody without being informed. Without, you have seen in movies that whenever police come to arrest someone, the person asks about the arrest warrant. Show me the arrest warrant before arresting me. Arrest warrant is the permission that is having with the police for arresting that particular person. The police has to tell about the crime to the person that he committed. The police has to inform that person's family before arresting him. The police has to file the whatever crime he had done, all the codes, IPCs, to the in 24 hours to the district magistrate. So all these, this Article 22 we will learn in Law and Judiciary chapter more detail. So basically this right is for the persons those who have committed crimes, and it is for protecting their right against arrest and detention. Now, right against exploitation. So basically this right was introduced to seek, yeah, to protect the rights of the weaker section, those who belong to the weaker section, that means the minorities, or we can say that the people those who belong to lower caste or females. So for protecting their rights, this right is introduced. Right against exploitation. The right against exploitation, enshrined in the Indian Constitution, guarantees dignity of the individual. It also prohibits the exploitation. What is the meaning of exploitation? To misuse of service by force or inducement in the following ways. So this article is mentioned in two, this right is mentioned in two articles, that is Article 23 and Article 24. This right is especially meant for people who have faced various forms of exploitation, who are facing exploitation. The right seeks to end the exploitation of children. You are well aware about the child labor, that the children, those who are less than 14 year of age, they are also working at restaurants, they are also working in some industries under hazardous conditions. So this right protect all these situations. You have also learned about human trafficking, that means selling and purchasing of human girls, women for immoral issues, for immoral uses, purposes, girls or women are selling. You have also learned about that men are also purchasing of men is also going on in country, that is only known as trafficking, for for forcing them to work as bonded labor, that means bandhua, bonded labor. So it prohibits human trafficking, that is it criminalizes buying and selling of human being like a commodity. Human beings are not thing, they are having rights, we are having fundamental rights, so no one is having right to sell or purchase us like commodities, like things. That is why this right is introduced that banned the human trafficking. It also prohibits use of women and girls for immoral purposes. It prohibits slavery, beggar, bonded labor. Slavery means to act as das and dasis. Slavery, beggar, bonded labor, or other form of forced labor. That forced labor or beggar means what? Beggar means a person who has to render free service. That means we hire someone and we are not paying them money, we are using them for more and more work, so that is only free service to his master or at minimal rates, or we are providing them very less money. So this is only this has the state has been given the authority to introduce compulsory service for such kinds of person in order to stop these practices. So our states is having the rights for issue some guidelines so that they can work for protecting the rights of these people, the bonded laborers, the person those who are working as forced laborers, the women, girls or children for not working as child laborers. So this is a responsibility of the state to work in this field so that no one can be used as commodities. Article 24 prohibits the employment of children. Remember this article. This article is against the child labor. Article 24 prohibits the employment of children below the age of 14 years in factories, mines, and other hazardous activities. No child can be hired to any hazardous place where their life is in danger. So, this article prohibits from that. Now we will see the next one, that is right to freedom of religion. That means India, all of us are knowing that India is a secular country. So here all religions are equal for the government and we are free to practice our religion and to celebrate our any festival in this country. So this right is regarding to that only. Freedom, right to freedom of religion, that is from article 25 to 28. This right gives us some privileges. According to the Constitution, all religions are equal before the state and no religion shall be given preference over the other. Citizens are free, we are free to preach, we are free to practice and propagate any religion of our choice. If we want to propagate means expand, if we are believing in Hinduism, we will follow Hinduism. If we want to worship Lord Ganesha, we will worship Lord Ganesha. If we want to worship Allah, we are free to do that also. So that is only right to freedom of religion that provides us right to preach whatever god we want to preach to worship, we are free to that. Whatever practices, social practices or whatever religious rituals we want to do like yagya, any form of worship, so we are free to for that and propagate any religion of their choice. We want to prosper any religion which we are willing to. Religious communities can set up charitable institutions for their own. We have also learned in the previous lecture that we are free to build our temples or any charitable institutions in all over the country. Activities in such institutions which are not religious are performed according to the laws laid by the government. But here also some restrictions are there since India is a secular country. But after that also it restricts us when or any religious practice or any social practice might hurt someone, then the restrictions will work. No person shall be compelled to pay taxes for the promotion of a particular religion. If we are promoting our religion, then no one can force tax on us. There is no need to for paying tax. A state run institution cannot impart education that is pro religion. That means any organization or any institution cannot misguide any person against the religion. So this is right to freedom of religion, that we are free to preach, practice, and propagate any religion in our country. This right comes under the Article 25 to 28. The Article 25 states freedom of conscience, that however we are willing to preach our God, we are free. Free profession, practice, and propagation of religion. Article 26 said freedom to manage religious affair. We are free to organize any religious programs and all that. Article 27, freedom from taxation for promotion of a religion. There is no need to pay tax if you are promoting any religion. Article 28, freedom from attending religious instructions. We are free to attend any religious ceremonies. Now, next one is cultural and educational rights. Cultural and educational rights. So, all of us are knowing that India is such a vast, or we can say that vast country it is. India is such a diverse country. There are many languages, there are many cultures, there are many dance forms, there are people those who believe in different festivals, there are people those who believe in different rituals. So this right is also guaranteed us that we are free to praise, we are free to promote our cultural and educational rights. Now we will see. Now we are having cultural and educational rights from Article 29 to 30. So all of you are knowing that India is a diverse country. There are lots of languages people are speaking, varieties of culture we are having. Their sense of dress is different, we speak different languages, we speak different festivals, our lifestyle is different. So for protecting our cultural rights, this right is introduced in a constitution that seek to uphold the rich heritage of India's and diversity. It gives the citizens the right to practice and promote their own language and culture. We are free to promote our language and culture in our country. We are free to speak any language and to practice any culture in our country. It also states that no citizen shall be denied admission into any educational institution maintained by a state. Suppose that we are living in North India, and if we will go to South India, suppose that your father get transferred to South India, any city of South India, there also the educational institutions cannot restrict you from the admission. They have to take your admission there also. So this is only, we cannot be discriminate on the basis of our language or on the basis of our culture. We are free to get anywhere admission. To receive aid out of state funds on ground only of religion, race, caste, language, or any of them. Our state has also fund our, suppose that I'm following any culture and I want to promote that culture. So, as if our state is providing fund to any institution, then that also have to provide the fund without any discrimination. All the minorities, whether based on language or religion, whatever minorities are there, shall have the right to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice. They are also having the right to open their own educational institutions and to prosper their own culture or language, to promote their own culture or language. While giving grants to the educational institutions that state shall not discriminate when the state is giving funds, providing money for the development of any institution. At that time also, state does not think about any kind of discrimination with respect to the person who is owning the institution. Discriminate against any educational institution on the basis of the religion of the people who run the institution. Suppose that there is one institution that is running by a Muslim community, so it is the responsibility of the government to provide fund to that institution also without any discrimination. So according to cultural and educational rights, so these rights help the citizens to practice and to promote our own language and culture in India. Now we will see right to constitutional remedies. Now students, what is the meaning of remedy? Remedy means to solve a problem, way to solve a problem. So right to constitutional remedy comes under the article 32, 33, 34 and 35. Right to constitutional remedies is also regarded as, it is also known as the heart and soul of our constitution. This right is the heart and soul of the constitution because, now why it is known like this? Because we are having six fundamental rights and this right protects our other five fundamental rights. This right to constitutional remedies matlab we are having the right, if by any law or by any right our rights are being violated, then we can go to the court. This is only known as right to constitutional remedies. That if we found that or any fundamental right or any right is being violated by the government or by any individual or by any private organization, then we can go to the court. Right to constitutional remedies regarded as the heart and soul of our constitution because this right make other rights effective. This right aim to protect all the other fundamental rights. What is the work of this right? To protect all other five fundamental rights. If sometimes our rights are being violated by fellow citizens, private bodies or by the government itself, we can seek remedy and we can solve this problem by going to the court. We can take this problem to the court. Now the court issues writs. I will tell you about the writs. Writ means order. The court issues writs to safeguard citizens' fundamental rights. The court is having the right, both the courts, Supreme Court and High Court, is having the right to issue order for protecting our fundamental right. If the court saw, if we prove to be right, this yes, our rights are being violated by the government, then the court will issue an order. According to that, we will be freed or we will be provide justice according to our right, fundamental rights. The court issues writs to safeguard citizens' fundamental rights. A person can approach the court if he or she feels that his or her rights have been violated by the writs. Now, however, the right to constitutional remedies can be suspended in certain special circumstances, such as during national emergencies. Now, this time we are seeing that our many fundamental rights are being violated. We are not allowed to go to public places, even we are not allowed to get out of our home also. We are not allowed to assemble anywhere. All these our rights are being restricted by the government. So this time we cannot go for any constitutional remedies. This time we cannot go to any court because constitutional remedies is during national emergencies. This right is also been restricted because government is working for our welfare only this time. So whenever these situations came, then these rights can also be suspended in these situations. So overall the thing is this, that we have the fundamental rights, but in case of our protection or our welfare, or if we are hurting someone's fundamental right, then these rights can be restricted by the constitution or by the government. Now, what are writs? A writ means an order. A word writ means an order or anything that is issued under an authority, that is or. A writ means an order, or anything that is issued under an authority is known as a writ. That means authority means that is having the supreme power. The Supreme Court or High Court orders a writ. That means an order to protect our fundamental rights. The Constitution of India empowers. That means our Constitution has given this right to Supreme Court and High Court to issue writs, to issue order, so that we are able to protect our fundamental rights whenever the court feel like that yes, our rights are being violated by the government or by any particular or by any individual, then they can issue a writ so that we can get back, we can restore our rights again for the enforcement of the fundamental rights confirmed by the third part of the Indian Constitution. So, what is writ? Writ means an order, or you can say that writ is anything that is issued under an authority. Now, who is having the power to empower writs? Our Supreme Court or High Court is having the power to issue the writs. Why the writs are issued? Writs are issued whenever our fundamental rights are being violated by any organization or any individual. Now, next is we are having, all of us are knowing that at home also, we are having some right, that we are having right that our parents help us in education, that our parents provide us our fees, school fees, that our parents provide us with food and all the necessities. These are our rights. But with these rights, we are also having some duties for our home or for any place. Like in school, also, if you are getting education, then it is also your duty to work for the school. That means to follow rules of the school, or all these things comes under your duties. So every citizen enjoys certain rights. All of us are having some rights. Each right has a corresponding duty, and for that we have to also follow the duties. Fundamental duties also we have learned in the previous lecture, but once I will make you revise it. The Constitution also mentions a code of conduct. That means how we have to behave for the citizens. That is only called fundamental duties. That is our work. Added by the 42nd Amendment, they serve as reminder to the citizen. Fundamental duties remind us that while enjoying rights, we have to be conscious about the duties. We have to also work for our country. They owe to their country, their society, and citizens. We are also having some responsibility towards our country, towards the society, or towards the citizens of the country. However, unlike fundamental rights, these fundamental duties are non justiciable. That means if we are not following these rights, then we cannot go to the court, or someone cannot take us to the court for not following these duties, because it is our inner conscience that allow us to follow these duties. If we are following these duties, that means we are a good citizen of this country. These fundamental duties help us to become a good citizens of the country. So, what are fundamental rights? Fundamental rights are our basic rights. And what are fundamental duties? That performed by us. Fundamental rights are performed by the state government, yeah, government, or that are the rights that are given to us by the constitution. What are fundamental duties? Fundamental duties are our code of conduct that we are going to do for the country. So we will learn about some of the fundamental duties. It is written in Article 51A. To abide by the Constitution, we are abide by the Constitution. We have to follow our Constitution and respect its ideal. We have to respect its ideal means sovereignty, socialist, fraternity, liberty, justice. We have to follow this. And institutions, we have to follow all the government institutions like Parliament, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, all these police stations. We have to respect our national flag and national anthem. To cherish and follow the noble ideas which inspired our national struggle for freedom. We have to obey all those ideas, or we have to respect our leaders, freedom strugglers, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. We should always respect the ideals of our constitution. We do not have to disobey our country. We have to respect the sovereignty, that means the supreme authority of our country. We have to work for maintaining the unity in our country. We have to work for the integrity, for the brotherhood, for the fraternity of our country, to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. Whenever there is a need or there is a national emergency, at that time we have to convey our respect or convey our service towards the country. Whenever there is our need, whenever there is a need to protect our country from the attackers, at that time, if we are called upon, then we have to be ready to help for the country, like our army men, to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, and religious regional sections diversities, to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. We have to respect every woman, we have to respect every religion, we have to respect every community, we have to give respect to every region to maintain the brotherhood, to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. We have to work for preserving our heritage, our culture, our festivals, our values. We have to preserve it, to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. We have to protect our nature. That is also a fundamental duty, to protect our nature. We do not have to pollute land, water, air. We have to take care of the animals. We do not have to kill them. That is why poaching is also not allowed. So, these are our fundamental duties, to protect our natural resources, to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. We have to be always ready to find out new things. We have to be always ready for the reformations, for make some positive changes in the society, to to safeguard public property and to abjure violence. Public properties, that means we have to be away from the violence. Public properties means whatever, like government buses, government properties, we have to respect all those things. We do not have to do any harm to those things. Like we have learned during the protest, people used to destroy the public properties, the properties that are given by the government. So we are not allowed to do so. We do not have to do so, to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation constantly rises to high levels of endeavor and achievement. We have to work for the development of the country. We have to work, we have to bring perfection in our work, so that our country can develop. We have to do our work by putting our all efforts, so that our country can develop. Now, last, we are having directive principles of the state policy. Now, what are these? Directive principles of the state policies are some of the principles that every state government has to keep in mind before framing the laws. Whenever the state government is going to frame laws for the citizens living in that state, it is the responsibility of that government to think about all these principles, so that they can work for the welfare of the people living in that state. Now, these DPSP, that is Directive Principles of State Policy, is also non justiciable. It is totally depending upon the state government whether they are going to follow the directive principles or not. They are not justiciable. We cannot go to the court for this. The Constitution of India states that the duty of the state, that means directive principle of state policies for the state governments, duty of the state will be to work towards the welfare of the people. Every state has to work for the welfare of the people so that the living conditions of the people of that state can improve. So it lays down certain guidelines which the government is supposed to keep. That means they are expecting, the constitution is expecting this. The government will, yeah, the state will keep in mind while framing the laws of the country. These guidelines promote the welfare of the people and are known as directive principles of state policy. They are not justiciable but are fundamental in governance of the country. Every country has to use these guidelines for framing the laws so that they can work for the welfare of the people. And it is the duty of the state to apply these principles in making laws. Now, some of the directive principles are equal pay for equal work. We learn in class 7th only that if male and female are doing same amount of work, then they have to be provided with the same salary. Equal pay, equal work. Humane conditions of work. Every person has to provide it with basic facilities to their working environment. That means wherever they are working, their humane conditions means the environment should be positive. Promotion of education and economic interest of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other weaker section. So it means that while framing the laws, every government has to take care that they are taking care of the minorities also. They have to keep in mind that minorities should be provided with special privileges so that they can also develop. Protection of national monuments. Every state has to do some work for protecting their national monuments. Whatever national monuments are there in a country, every state has to work to protect it. Protection and improvement of environment and safeguarding of forest and wildlife of the country. So every state has to work for the conservation of the environment and animals. Promotion of international peace and security. So everyone has to work or promote international peace. That means relation between two countries, peace and security for the country. Now the chapter is over. Thank you. Please watch the video, read your chapter, and fill the book exercises. Thank you, students.